Item number 2 is the approval of the agenda. Is there any deletions or additions to the agenda, please? Go ahead, Councillor.
Under new business, could we possibly add, just like making sure it's not here, the Doppler radar, or maybe we could refer to it as just Southwest Nova forecasting, weather forecasting.
Okay, can we put that under, it's number 9? Item number 9? Doppler radar, weather. Was there anything else that anybody wishes to add? Go ahead.
Mr. Warden, I'd like to add as item number 10, Business View Magazine.
Number 10, Business View Magazine. Thank you. Was there anything further? Sorry. Go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd also like to add under item number 8-11, letter to the town sent to the volunteer fire departments.
Okay, we just put it there as dispatch then? Is that the easiest way?
Yes.
Okay, just put it as dispatch. Was there anything further at this time? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as changed or amended. Moved by Councillor Cushion. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by the Deputy Warden. All in favour signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 3. Is there any declaration of any conflict of interest? Go ahead, Councillor.
Yes, I'm going to declare a conflict of interest in regards to the Shark Scramble grant request.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anything further? Anybody else? Hearing none, we will move on to item number 4, the approval of the minutes of June 27th, both public transcripts, in camera, regular, July 11th, regular, in camera, in public transcripts. What is the wishes of council? Sorry. Go ahead, Deputy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of June 27th, regular council, June 27th, in camera, June 27th, public transcript, July the 11th, regular meeting minutes, July the 11th, in camera meeting minutes, and July 11th, public transcript minutes.
Been so moved by the Deputy Warden. Do we have a seconder for that motion? Been moved by Deputy Warden Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion? Question being called. All in favour signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Ooh, that's good. Item number 5 is the Warden's remarks. They're only short this evening. Only a couple pages. As I've always said, you know, I wonder where I should start and so on. But the month of July, there was a lot to do for our residents. As we're all well aware, there was the Classic Car Show in the town of Yarmouth, and it was a huge turnout. I just want to take this opportunity to thank the town for being able to accommodate the closing of Main Street and allowing those cars to do their thing. And it was very interesting. I had the opportunity, because I was at another event, which was the Heartland Tour, which was going on the same weekend at the Grand Hotel, with their excursion of biking around our beautiful countryside here in Yarmouth. And I had, as I said, I had the opportunity to talk to a few of the participants in the car show, and they were very pleased with the way it was organized. They were very pleased with all of the accessories that they needed, from food to the porta potties. I even had some of them comment on the politeness of the town's police force, the RCMP, how courteous they were, and so on. And I haven't spoken with the CAO or with the mayor at this time to pass that on. That was a compliment that some of them paid and wanted me to pass that on to the CAO for that. the businesses and so on within the town of Yarmouth and within the municipality were very fortunate because it was a very busy weekend. The classic car show people didn't just stay in town. Some of them took the opportunity to go over to the lighthouse and took pictures of their car with the lighthouse up behind it and so on. I talked to a lot of people that went down to Tusket and so on, and just cruised around down to the Acadian Village in Pubnico and so on. So it is both the Classic Car Show and Heartland has been coming here for quite a while, and they really enjoy the Heartland tour. Really enjoys. They enjoy going over to the lighthouse. They find that a very nice ride and so on. So I mean, those are some of the good things that went on. Both Councillor Allen, Councillor Cushing, the CAO, and myself, we met here, I gotta stop and think, I think it was July 25th, and had a meeting pertaining to the Doppler radar, forming a committee and so on, and moving forward with the Environment Canada on climate change and so on. And we've been asked, and I think Councillor Allen's going to give us an update later on this evening on that. Also, the CAO, Victoria Brooks, Greg Shea, and myself had the opportunity to meet with the Development Office of the First Nations here in Yarmouth on July 24th. I know I've spoken to a couple of the councillors pertaining to that meeting, and I felt that it was a great first step moving forward. And I believe from that first meeting, we haven't set another date, but coming out of there, they did want to meet with us and so on again in the very near future. So there's a great opportunity with the First Nations right here in Yarmouth to maybe partner on some projects or do some things together. Anyway, that's all in the future. The biggest thing that I think that the municipality has done, we're only into the 15th of August, but on August 1st, the municipality councillors and staff met with Jim Roper from the Volunteer Fire Services. And we met out at the Rotary Centre, and we had by invite only the fire chiefs and the deputy fire chiefs from municipalities from Shelburne, town of Shelburne, Barrington, Clare, Argyle. And we met at the Rotary Centre to head of a discussion on an issue that is facing this whole area pertaining to our dispatch service and so on. From that meeting and that discussion, there's a committee that's going to be formulated, and we're going to be moving forward there with some discussion in the very near future. And a couple of the fire chiefs from the municipality of Shelburne and the town of Shelburne were very eager to sit on that committee. So that's, I think it's a positive thing, and we'll move forward. We'll move forward on that one. Also, this past month, myself, the CAO, our executive assistant Liz Dowsett, and Mark Blinn, we met and had quite a little discussion on something that'll be a great, I'm not sure what the word would be. It's going to be great for the municipality of Yarmouth. We've had a lot of things happen in the municipality, but this is going to be a good thing. And I'm not going to tell you about it. I have asked Victoria to give us, or to give you folks, the general public, and my fellow councillors an update on what that was. I think you'll be, I think the residents will be very pleased, and I believe you as councillors will be very pleased with what she'll be telling you later on under item number 10. It's good. This past weekend was very busy on the waterfront in town. The VON had one of their fundraisers, which was on Friday night. The seafood wine extravaganza was on basically on Saturday with their fish feast on the waterfront, and then on Sunday the full wine and seafood extravaganza at the Grand Hotel. I had the opportunity this year to be their MC. I took that opportunity in stride. I always enjoy myself when I have that opportunity. So I don't go there to be able to take in a whole lot of things. I go there to do the best that I can. And I had the opportunity to meet a gentleman by the name of Brian Waters. He's from Pensacola, Florida. He and his wife come and stay 1 month of every year. They have a summer home in Meteghan. So we chit-chatted there for a little while, and there was a couple of things that really struck me. And one, he said, it's the hospitality of the people here in Southwest Nova. He said, you go beyond what they've ever seen anywhere else in hospitality. Your association, being able to communicate and talk, and the friendliness and so on. And in our conversation, he has been in the past, he is a captain of ocean-going yachts. And he works for, as he put it, very wealthy families that have yachts. So when he said he was a captain of a yacht, I just, by any chance, you know Dave Armberg? Well, yes, they're friends and so on, but he hasn't met him since he's been over here this time. And so I told him how he might be able to get a hold of him and have a chit-chat and so on. But it's as big as the world is, it's very small sometimes. It really surprised me. I did have the opportunity on Saturday, while I was at the fish feast, there was a couple sitting at one of the tables, and I know them just sitting there, and they were enjoying themselves. And I knew they were not from here, just by the way they were acting. So I went over and I sat down and started talking with them, and this is the question I asked. I said, by the way, where are you folks from? Mexico. I said, you got 5 minutes? Yes. So I went and got something, brought it back, and started talking with them and so on. They've been here for 2 years. They themselves said the same thing. The hospitality here is, they don't find it anywhere else. They live here in Yarmouth now. They enjoy everything about Yarmouth. What really impressed me, though, as he said, we bring our family and we bring our friends to come over here. He said, and we're trying to convince them to come and live. And that was good. Sunday night, they showed up at the Wine and Seafood. So we had another nice long chit chat, and it gave me great pleasure when they were drawn for door prizes. They won a door prize, and they were ecstatic. First time they'd been to that function, and so on, and walked away. They met a lot of new people and so on. So I just want to let you know, we have a lot of nice things here, but one of our biggest items we have is our hospitality, and we promote it very well. So on that. But lastly, I want to say that the dry weather is causing a lot of concerns, both with homeowners, and the municipal councillors are very concerned. We are actively working at this time on ways to help, and hopefully within the next couple of days on our website you'll be able to go in and see some of the suggestions that we'll be making and so on to the general public. And I think it is on our agenda, yes, under item 8.8 is on a water issue, and we'll go into more details at that time. But I just want to let the general public know that we are very concerned, and that the municipal office and the councillors are doing our due diligence, working on, so I can't make it rain, but I think we can help with some of the issues that are out there. And that is my report. So we will move on into business arising. And under business arising, there's nothing directly other than presentation. Excuse me for a second. At this time, the general public, my fellow councillors, as some of you are well aware, I've been a councillor for over 20 years. When I first became a councillor, I had the opportunity to sit on one of the many committees of the municipality, and one of those was a joint committee of the town of Yarmouth and ourselves, and that is the EMO. And shortly after I started sitting on that committee, only about maybe 3 years, then we had to have a new director and so on. Bob LeFay had retired, and he put out there looking for a new coordinator, new helper, new director, and Behold, we had a gentleman apply, and that gentleman was by the name of Carol Richardson. And over the years, I've been both chairman and I've been just a sitting member on that committee. But while I was chairman of that committee, I got to know Carol really well. And so please excuse me if I won't say I won't break down, but Carol and I work very closely on a lot of issues and so on. But the one thing that Carol done for the municipality and for the town, he took us from a level, no disrespect, here at EMO to being one of the best EMO centers in Nova Scotia. He got us to have a very well organized building in behind Fire Hall in Yarmouth. He also coordinated a second EMO, emergency EMO, in case anything happened with the one in town, and that's at our Rotary Center. He initiated, we have a standby generator, we have all the phone lines, we have cable, we have everything as a standby at our Rotary Center as we had town. But through EMO, when they have come down many times, they have commented on the shape, the organization, the structure of our facility, the way it's set up for each and every one of the different organizations that participate in that building in the emergency. Over those years, Carol has done a lot of what we call tabletop exercises that is in the preparation of an emergency. Carol has also organized and they were very instrumental in having some real situations. The one that comes to mind is the one with the propane tank and the school bus on Prospect Street and so on. And I can remember it very well because as directors of the EMO, we did not actively participate, but we were kept abreast of how things went and so on. And I think it gave Carol great pleasure when it started and so on. And there were 2 or 3 RCMP officers coming. When it was announced, they come scooting up Prospect Street and jumped over their cars. They were first on scene, and somebody walked over and said, "Please, gentlemen, you are now dead." They approached the accident from the wrong angle and so on. Propane truck, propane will flow down the street. They came up the street, they within 58, so they were on the scene. They could leave. That's how we have to organize those things. So I think that gave Carol at that time great pleasure to be able to say to those RCMP officers, you were no longer part of the scene. You were there. And but it was an active scene. It had all of the makeup, the whole 9 yards of a complete scene of an accident and so on, of an emergency situation, and then how it was held. They did do a debriefing after, and there was only a couple of very small variances in that accident scene and so on. And I had to hand that all off to Harold through the organization and so on. In October 2010, 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a Saturday morning, but on Friday night, they had poured rain on Carol. 2 o'clock Saturday morning, I got a call. Woke me up, Leon, issue. What are you doing? Said, we've got a real major water issue, there is flooding, et cetera, and, well, hey, Harold, Leon, I just want to make you aware, Harold, I'm on my way in. We took a drive out to, the Lake Lawns, the Dan Brenner, yeah, and so on, and had, the look there, but we had to go through water on the 103, and so on. And Harold was on top of that issue at that time. And on Saturday morning, we called council. We had Department of Highways came there. We declared an emergency. Department of Highways went out and closed the bridge. And so on, so you couldn't go across that because it was in such a condition already from the rain and the flooding issue. And that was about a week, 10 days that Harold spent a lot of his time doing interviews and managing that complete operation. And that was, in all honesty, that was one of the first issues, major catastrophes that we had in the municipality. And Harold, again, handled it very well. The Premier of Nova Scotia at that time, I believe, flew in. Harold took and had a long discussion at our EMO center with everybody involved, with the Premier and his assistants and so on. throughout the last number of years, Carol's still very active in making sure that the EMO is still up to speed and very active and so on. So Carol, at this time, I know you're retiring and so on, but I have a little token here for you from the municipality. If you step forward, I'd like to present that to you, sir. Carol, really, on behalf of the municipality, thank you for your dedication to this organization, and you've made Yarmouth County one of the strongest EMO centers in Australia. Again, thank you very, very much. Carol, what we've given to you is, I know you're quite a hockey fan, you and your wife, and we've given you 2 season passes to that local hockey team. What do they call them, the Mariners? Yeah, they call them the Mariners. Because Harold and his wife have been very dedicated to the Mariners, and not because Harold has been the chairman of the Mariners Center Board for a number of years. But I happened to go to Truro one time, and Harold was going to be there, and he and his wife had driven from Truro to Amherst, put it in, I think, they got to Glasgow to watch a Mariners hockey game and drove back to be able to do the meetings the next day. So he's a very dedicated hockey fan, and he sits up there quite often. I don't think he holler very much, but no. And thank you very much, Cheryl. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. No, thank you. Our next little order of business before we move into the public hearing and so on, we've had a gentleman for, well, when I came on, this gentleman was the building inspector and ran the development office for the municipality of Yarmouth. I'm not going back in to try to find out his age or how long he's been there. He's still very young at heart. He does a lot of other things and so on in his life. And I believe in his retirement that he and his wife are going to do some traveling, I believe, are you not? Just night. Yeah, just night, yes. And Brad has been a big part of the municipality for a long time. He's done a lot of work. He's seen a lot of changes in the building codes. He has stepped up on those. When the opportunity came for Brad to step up into what we call the DPC, District Planning Commission, Brad submitted his name, and he moved into that position, which looked after, at that time, there was Barrington, Argyle, the municipality, the municipality of Clare. So it was stepping from one municipality to looking after 4 municipalities. And Brad has done that diligently. He has stepped up. He meets with people when there's going to be land changing zones, etc. All of the issues that are very important to any municipal unit. So as Brad, if you come forward, I really appreciate it. Brad is retiring this year, and Brad, on behalf of the municipality, for your dedication to both the municipality and the DPC, it's a great pleasure to present you a small token of our appreciation. I think I guess we turn that around, right? Let's look at that. And thank Brad for all of his hard work. Because over the years, there's been times when it has been easy, and Brad has done the due diligence again for the municipality. We have people that stand up and represent your municipality, as well as both Carol and Brad have. We deserve the best. And Brad, all the best in your retirement and so on. And I hope you never have to look at another building and see which way it's going, eh? So, now back to yeah. Thank you. Our next item up for is a public hearing. The request of Blair Shaw and Shelley Thorburn to rezone land from rural development, RD, to rural commercial, RC. Brad, you now have the floor, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Warden. This is an application that came in on June 15th from, as Warden mentioned, Blair Shaw and Shelley Thorburn. They own a property on the south side of the Rose Road in South Ohio. This property is a large property, about 49 acres in total area. It's currently a vacant lot. What they're proposing is to take a small portion of that in the northwest corner, south of the Rose Road and east of Highway 101, and rezone that to rural commercial for the development and operation of an equestrian facility. This matter was reviewed by the Planning Advisory Committee back on June 26th. It was recommended to Council on June 27th. The public notices appeared in the Vanguard on July 25th and August 1st in accordance with the Municipal Government Act notification requirements. What's proposed is the construction of an equestrian facility that will house approximately 15 horses. The building measures 36 feet by 108 feet, and it also has a center wing which measures 36 feet by 36 feet. They're going to construct that in an open field area, which is in this 8-acre site that they intend to rezone. They also, in the future, may construct an indoor arena building on that site. The property was approved by the Provincial Department of Transportation for access, proper access. The site is 8 acres, and they've had a qualified person certify that the site is suitable for on-site septic, so it meets all the provincial requirements. There are no costs to the municipality. There's no requirement for any infrastructure from the municipality. It met all of the requirements as far as lot size, access. There's no noise that's generated by this facility other than perhaps the neighing of a few horses. It's a large site and it's quite remote. The nearest residence is approximately, I think, 800 feet away, and there are, I believe, trees and bushes that block the view, so it's a very isolated area as well. So it met all of the requirements, and it's recommended that this site be approved to be rezoned from rural development to rural commercial for the equestrian facility.
So I'll move that the municipality district of Yarmouth amend the land use bylaw rezoning the subject property, which is PID 901614772 Rose Road, South Ohio, from rural development to rural commercial, as requested.
Do we have a seconder for that? Been duly moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Discussion? Go ahead, Councillor. Go ahead, you're on.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I do have one question of staff. Have we ever received any written complaints or concerns over this proposed development?
I didn't receive anything, no.
No.
And there's nobody in the audience this evening. I was going to move that.
And that was my next question. Was there anyone in the audience that had any concerns or comments about the proposed development?
Hearing none? Then
Hearing none, I guess I'll
for
call
the
the question.
Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Brad, thank you very much for your due diligence and so on. And now, who notifies the proponents?
Well, there has to be a notice published in the Vanguard advising council has rezoned the property.
Okay.
And once that's done, then there's an appeal period, a short appeal period, and then it's complete after that. And
So
those notices will go in next week's the notice will go in next week's Vanguard.
okay, so can the proponent start any type of work on the property at this time, or?
Well, the appeal period doesn't expire. There's a 14-day appeal period, so someone could appeal that. So a development permit isn't permitted to be issued until the conclusion of the appeal period.
So in 14 days' time, roughly from today, they could start.
Well, it would be 14 days from the notice is published.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Vanguard.
The Vanguard notice, yeah.
So the Vanguard come out when today? So it'll be next week? It'll be next week?
next week's Vanguard,
And
and
then
then 14 days from that point, yeah.
So 3-week period still. Okay. I should have known that. I guess I probably did, but just, okay. Okay.
Would there be other items, Mr. Warden, that you'd want me for? Or?
No, I don't think so. Nothing that I know at this
Okay.
time. Okay, Brett,
you.
thank you very much. And listen, one of the requirements, I think in the note there is that you and your wife have to send us pictures of wherever you travel, okay? And so,
all
yeah.
right.
okay.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you, Brad. Appreciate everything. Moving into item number 8.1, the July Development Report. You have that in your package. What is the wishes of council? Go ahead, councillor.
So I'll move that we receive the development report.
It's been moved by councillor Cunningham, seconded by councillor Allen. Was there any further discussion on the motion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. 8.2, invitation from the town of Yarmouth per the Mariner Center, Aquatic Center, Recreational Facility, etc. What is the, that's, I think, an information only. That meeting has been now scheduled for the Wednesday, the 29th at 2 p.m. at the town in someone. Was there any questions or concerns? Go ahead, councillor.
I was pleased to see the letter and glad to see that we may be moving forward with the Mariner Center expansion. Is this council has wanted to do for a good long time, is my understanding, and
Yes.
certainly I'll be fully supportive
Yes.
of the project. I can't wait.
All good thing. Councillor, you had yours on. Councillor Allen, did you wish to say? No. Go ahead.
I completely agree with Trevor. Looking forward to moving forward with some consultations and see what we as a group can come up with.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Eight point three, recycle cart pickup. Councillor Cunningham. Go ahead, councillor.
I had it brought to my attention by a resident, but it's a question I pondered and with others for quite a while. So currently, recycle, like the clean recyclables, I'll call them, are picked up every week, and the green carts are picked up every second week. And of course that alternates with garbage. So this resident, and I agree, there's certainly some there's some concern out there that during the summer months especially that the green carts should be picked up every week, in fact, because they really in the heat, everybody knows what they're like. They're problematic. For 2 weeks they're problematic, probably for 1 week, but certainly they're problematic over 2 weeks. They begin to smell and so on and so forth. Having said that, I did approach our CAO to gather some information about what it would cost to look at having that service change moving forward. It may be that we don't pick up the clean recyclables every week. I don't know all of the details around that, but anyway, there's some concern that that we might actually do a rejigging of the service so that the smellier waste, I'll say, is picked up more frequently, especially in the summer months. So staff's going to look at what other municipalities are doing. I know HRM does that, and there's another unit that does that year round, does a recycle year round, weekly. So of course there are cost implications, and we'll have to look at the numbers. And I think our CAO has some of those numbers tracked down for us. So
Okay.
I'll turn it over to her through you, Chair, to talk.
If we may, before we move on, does any councillor have any questions or concerns or any comments at this time before the CAO? Okay, you may have some after. Go ahead, CAO.
So my initial findings were around units that have only additional pickups in the summertime, rather than with units who in their contract negotiations have year-long weekly organics pickups. So what we found was units who had done temporary additional pickups had very poor uptake on the extra service by residents. About 30% of residents took advantage of the extra service. In our contract, we have 82 weeks remaining. So adding a weekly organics pickup would be 41 extra pickups for a cost of $8,510 plus fuel surcharge plus tax. So those are the facts. There is always room to do more education on our own and with Waste Check to help mitigate the problematic realities of organics in the summertime. There's all kinds of tips and tricks, and we can certainly do an education blitz as well around that.
Okay. You've heard from the CAO. Councillor Cushing, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that information, Victoria. In my past life, I was involved with the solid waste and the organics and whatnot, and I think you'll find that Waste Check has a lot of good answers to remedy some of these problems that arise with the green cards, and I actually do it myself, sort of, right? But once it's dumped, every time you go down and put your small bucket into the big bucket, you have your organic spray and spray the box, and it seems to help quite a bit. So I think if people were a little bit more educated on it again, perhaps we've kind of slacked off a little bit on the education part. I'm not sure Waste Check's role, if they're ongoing education part of it, but I know it was very helpful in the past, and perhaps we should, just see if Waste Check is continuing doing this education process with, especially dealing with the green card. So
Yep.
something maybe we should look into.
Go ahead, councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I guess I had the mic next. The CAO had mentioned something about an education piece, and I think that would be a viable option to start, in my own personal opinion. And since I just seen that we recently had an email come out from Barb Viller regarding items to put in our newsletter, maybe that's something that we could start.
Yeah.
Because
Good point.
I think that an education piece first would be maybe the best way. And if that didn't mitigate the concern that this resident had, which is, I can understand, because where I live out in the country where it's been so darn hot, I use the compost cart, and mine is just about ready to crawl away on its own. So I can understand and feel for the resident that expressed that concern, but I would also be interested in knowing what some of the possible remedies could be, and that kind of intrigues me. Maybe it's just a matter of the simple fact of putting an organic paper bag to soak up some of the moisture that some of the organics have, maybe, but that information could be relayed to the public through our newsletter.
Yep.
And I seen that
Yep.
Barb had just recently asked us for
another
a
item.
friendly reminder that there's space in our newsletter to add that. So
Yep.
I think that would be a good way to
Helpful.
go at this time. I'm not dismissing the concern that Councillor Cunningham has, but I think that would be a prudent thing, and maybe that's something that we should maybe look into next year if that does not help.
Go ahead, councillor.
Not a waste expert, but I'll go this far. I don't know how much education and I'm not saying we should or shouldn't. I think we delve into the facts a little bit. I'm not sure how much education is going to stop the organic cart from smelling during the summer. I'm pretty fastidious about my cart. I wash it out, and I can tell you, within a day or two, if you leave it out in the heat, there's problems. There's trouble. We're not going to educate ourselves out of this, and it's more than just one resident. And the $8,000 figure is not a small amount, but I would like to do a little bit more work to hear from additional residents. Maybe a survey. You know, it's folks' tax dollars. I don't know. And lots of times people are away during the summer. It's problematic. Like if you miss one, then you're a month out, right, without getting your cart serviced. So anyway, I don't know if we've got all the facts on the table yet. You know, I think we're ways out, but I think I'd like to delve into this a little bit more than we have to this point, and find out a little bit, because it is problematic during the summer, certainly. Whether the magnitude of that problem merits the additional cost, I think that's something we as a council need to come to some kind of decision about between now and the renewal of the contract. But I think we should hear from the residents a little bit more. And so not to be too blunt, but I'm not one to say that education doesn't help, because it does help mitigate, but the facts, the heat and the organics add up to a mess, and so I'll leave it at that.
Okay, before we move on, the number that was put out there, I'm going to turn the floor back to our CAO. I want you to listen.
Yeah, I may not have been clear. So the price, $8,510 plus tax, plus fuel surcharge, is per week.
Oh.
So every week, every week that we want to run, is per week. Yeah, not for the rest of the contract, but per week. And there are 41 weeks left in the contract.
Yeah, I know. I know. I knew, that's why I leaned over to, I knew that there was a misunderstanding and so on. I knew the reason they would have to put on another truck just to do that. Okay. Councillor Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate what Trevor was saying, but our CAO certainly answered the question that I was going to ask. Is that for the rest of the 41 weeks or per week? And you certainly answered that question. However, going back to what Councillor Deputy Warden Cunningham mentioned about putting it in our newsletter in the fall, we also do. That should be a regular item that we put in our newsletter, spring and fall, and perhaps this fall we could put in the newsletter a questionnaire with. What do you think about a second pickup and the cost related to it? And that way, just to gauge people what they say. I think once they find out the cost, I think it will certainly say, oh, let's just leave things alone, sort of thing. But the organic situation is the nature of the beast. It's what they used to do before by taking everything to the landfill was, I did see that also happen, sort of thing, right? So we've come a long ways in the separation and whatnot. It's just unfortunate we have to take everything out of here, but except for the organics. But anyway, I think we should be proactive and continue on with some education. I think about that's the only solution we have, and have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to make a couple of comments. WasteCheck does do due diligence on educating and so on, and Councillor Cunningham is right when you say on the education piece, how do you kind of keep educating? there's certain things that you put into your organic cart in hot weather that does attract. Go ahead and you can put all the apple peels and oranges and so on in your cart and you won't have an issue. But if you put in the apple peels and the oranges and so on, then you just go and throw in some fish or a piece of meat and so on. That's what attracts the flies, and then that just starts fermenting and so on. So I fully understand where you're coming from. The pickup is one of the smallest parts of the puzzle. When you, because the town of Yarmouth runs the compost facility, there may be a change in their scheduling, because the way the organics is picked up now, all of the organics in Region 7, and that means from the town of Digby, municipality Digby, Clare, and so on, all comes into the compost facility, and they know basically the tonnage that'll be coming in per week from the municipal units. They don't know, well, they do know what'll come in from the IC&I, from the hospitals and so on. They have an idea, and that comes in on a weekly basis. If you start and change too much of the amount that's coming in, it throws off their ability to manage it and what comes out. Because I'll say what comes in the first of the month can go out at the end of the month because of the system they have. But if all of a sudden you change it, you have more coming in, I'll say per week, than what you can handle, then it might take 2 months for it, and then they get it back. So in the discussion, it's very easy for us to say yes to our contractor, start picking it up. But when he gets out there, the town might say, whoa, I don't need that tonnage. I can't handle that tonnage, and that'll throw things off. So that would be a major part of the discussion and so on, to work that all out and so on. For across the province of Nova Scotia, yes, there is some areas that do weekly pickup, especially in the summer and so on, but the majority of municipal units do not. It's a thing that everybody's gotten used to. A lot of people, Councillor Cunningham, will take the meat products in the summertime and will wrap them in a bag, or even put them in a plastic bag, the Sobeys bag or whatever, put them in their freezer off to one side, and then the day of the pickup or the evening of the night before, they'll put them in and so on, and out it goes. So as the Deputy Warden stated, a little bit of education in our newsletter and so on. I do realize the issue, but it's something, as we say, we can still look into and so on. But I knew when Victoria said $8,000 and she said 41 weeks, I said, I wonder how they're going to read that. I knew that John would have to put on another truck, and if he's going to do that for 41 weeks at $8,000, that's pretty cheap. So I just wanted to make that clear to you folks and so on. Anyway, we'll continue looking into that. Is there any further questions from our comments? Go ahead, Councillor.
I just didn't want to miss out on a really good deal, Alyssa.
That's a true councillor. I really appreciate that. Ooh, good one. Item number 8.4, letter from Nova Scotia Housing. Citizen rep term has expired, and I guess at this time I'll hand that over to the CAO to just get us up to speed on that one.
So Western Regional Housing Authority requests a citizen representative from the District of Yarmouth to sit on that authority. And at the in-camera session, when we were discussing human resource matters, Council discussed that appointment. And I think Council is prepared to make a motion on citizen appointments this evening.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Right, and just for clarity, there are a number of additional citizen appointments beyond this one, so I'll make that. So for Audit Committee, I move that the Municipality District of Yarmouth appoint for the Modi Audit Committee Dean Fuller. For the Yarmouth County Police Advisory Committee, Ken Whelans. For the Planning Advisory Committee, Patty Simpson. For the Yarmouth and Acadian Shores Tourist Association, Rick Allwright. And for the Western Regional Housing Authority, Josh Trass, and that's all again contingent on their acceptance of the posts.
Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Lauren Cushion. Was there any further discussion on that motion? You ready for the question? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. 8.5, you have it in your package, councillors, is request for late exemption. What is your wishes and so on? Time? I'll give you, go ahead.
Just for council's information, we had allowed for 30 exemptions in the budget this year. We've received 3, so there is budget allotment to approve these, and both of these accounts are paid in full.
I'm sorry, go ahead, councillor.
So it is the recommendation of staff that we do, okay, so I'll move that the assessment account number 3962334.
There's two, there's late exemption and tax reduction.
My apologies. I'll move that. My apologies.
So we're,
I clicked on the wrong,
8.5.
yeah, I've got it now. Okay, I'll move that the two assessment accounts, assessment account number 395072 and assessment account number 3371093, that we grant those two requests for 2018 low income exemption.
Been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Deputy Warden John Cunningham. Was there any further discussion on that motion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. The next item in your package is 8.6, request for tax reduction. You also had that in your package, and that is, go ahead.
Mr. Warden, I just want to make council aware of an amendment to the figures presented. So the request is coming based on council's policy to reduce taxes when fire destroys or partially destroys a property. So number one, we've received confirmation from Property Valuation Services that the assessed value of those properties has been corrected on the roll. And secondly, the calculation for the correction would be prorated. So the correct amounts are for assessment account number 3962334, the correct amount of the correction is $737.33. And for assessment account number 2608367, the correct correction amount is $451.07. It's my recommendation that these be approved.
Can we have a, go ahead, councillor.
Well, upon staff's recommendation, I would like to make a motion that the assessment account number 3962334, reduction of $737.33, and assessment account number 2608367, reduction of $451.07.
Been moved by Councillor Allen. Do we have a seconder for that? Seconded by Councillor Cushion. Was there any further discussion on the question? The question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you. 8.7, Shark Scramble Grant Request. Go ahead.
I am going to declare a conflict of interest as regards to the Shark Scramble grant request,
Okay.
so I'm going to, if you don't mind, I'll excuse myself.
Yep. At this time, you have 8.7, Shark Scramble Grant Request. You had that in your package. At this time, what is the wishes of council? And I'll take any comments or concerns that you have. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We certainly know that the Yarmouth Shark Scramble is an important event in the Yarmouth area, and has been very successful over the years. And I certainly support support a request that they make, but my only difficulty with this for the amount they wanted of $1,000 is I wish they had sent the request in when we were doing our grants, and I just find if we make an exception here of $1,000 right now, it may cause others to do the same. I do believe we should give them some. I'm not quite sure how much, and that would be up for discussion amongst my fellow councillors.
Okay. Thank you. Deputy Warden?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in total agreement. We do have a grants policy in that respect where there's a deadline that these happen, but from time to time, things do happen over the time, and I'm in full agreement that we should give them some, but I do have one question for staff before I relinquish the floor. Is there any money left in our contingency for grant requests?
So the contingency is small to begin with, and we're not quite halfway through the year. So I'm not sure where council would like to go with this, but even if council should wish to satisfy the full amount of the request, there is money available.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I am in favor of the full amount that's asked, but I do believe there is a couple $1,000s left, and this does happen from time to time, so I'm willing to make a motion and put it on the floor. There's a seconder out there. I'm willing to make a motion to grant $500 to the Yarmouth Shark Scramble.
Okay, it's been duly moved by the Deputy Warden, $500. Do we have a seconder before we move on? You'll second that motion? Okay, been moved by Deputy Warden John Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Cushion. You have the floor, Councillor.
I would suggest, along with that, the $500 that we're going to grant the Shark Scramble, that we make it clear to them that, you know, when next year comes, put your grant in at the right time, so we can seriously look at it. You know, so because it is a very good tournament. It brings a lot of people here, and it's certainly well worth it. But like I say, I think we have to be cautious of what we do. Thank you.
Okay. I have, if there's no further comment, I have a couple of comments, and I'm going to ask the mover. Would you be willing to put on to your motion that we get a full financial statement no later? Well, I guess I'd have to turn to the CEO. What date could we put on that they may have? To request a financial statement, and also that it's a note or whatever goes with them because they were late. If this occurred next year, would you be as acceptable to a late request again? I think we have to put the onus back on them. They got to have their request in, or they're not going to get, because this is a late request. So, but I would ask the mover that we put on there some way. We want a financial statement. Not next year, we want it by the end of February or something of this nature. So go ahead.
So, Mr. Warden, I am in possession of the financial statement for their most recent year. They did request that we don't make it part of the public documents,
Right.
but I do have access to it. I have it
Okay.
in my hand.
Yeah.
Moving forward, organizations that apply for a grant, they're asked to submit that documentation with their application.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll remove my request from the Deputy Warden. Okay. So is there any further discussion on the motion? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. I just want to let you know that I've been in contact with both Josh, the president, and with Bob Gable. And my last understanding was they had around 120 participants and so on, and the boats were, I think, leaving at 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon to go out and back. The scientific research, they will be doing some testing of the sharks that are landed. They will be tagging a big majority of the fish that are inside, because there's going to be a fish per person, I believe, that's able to fish, and so on brought in, and they are not going to be dissecting the sharks of any type in front of the public and so on. So I just give you a heads up on that. You can ask Councillor Allen to come back in, please. .8 is, we only have it here on your agenda as water, but it is an issue that I had in my remarks that we will be, or we would be talking about here later on and so on. I guess I'm going to ask to turn here. What has been some of the responses you folks or you councillors have gotten from any of your residents and so on at this time pertaining to dry wells or whatever? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I had sent in, there was a request sent out via email of how many residents have been either low or out of water, and I regret to inform the Executive Secretary, Liz, that I did not get back to you with the civic numbers and addresses, but I will do that. To date, I know of 6 people's wells who have gone dry, and most everybody that I've talked to has been cutting back. Now, whether that means going over to a friend's house who has a drilled well, or going to town and doing washing and stuff. There has been a couple requests on bottled water, a program that the municipality of Yarmouth had adopted in 2016 when we had the last big drought. From everything that I see, this drought that we're currently having now is as bad. The water levels are as low as I've ever seen them in the Carleton River system. One good way to gauge it that I find is I am lucky enough to have 2 wells, an old dug well that was dug by hand and a drilled well. The last drought we had in 2016, my well went dry on this date. I just checked my well before I come in here today. I have 2 inches, so I'll be switching over very, very quickly. We need rain, we need it quickly. Just recently we had a fire call out in the Carleton area that I think some of you may have seen a posting that I had on Facebook where the woods are very dry. We were lucky to get that fire under control very quickly. It is a very big concern. I have not heard as many concerns about a program for drilling wells, because I do know there is a couple people that have drilled wells that have had water problems in the past. I don't know if they taken us up on our water drilling program. I do believe that one of them did, but other people, there's another home I do know that they are currently using the fire department for bottled water, and if they need help, I've offered to open up the fire station so they can have a shower and stuff like that. But out my way, it's getting dry. There's no doubt about it. People are making do. I haven't heard at this time a lot of requests for bottled water, but there is questions. And at one time, there has been a concern that was issued to me that I didn't realize, and that the warden had also mentioned it to me, is the price of water tokens. They used to be apparently at one time $1.25. In that area. Now they're up to $4.40. So maybe that's an issue that we can raise with the town during these drought conditions, that maybe that we could ask for a discount in that regard. I don't know why the price went up so much, but I don't know what the going rate on a gallon of water is for the town, but maybe that's some research that we should do and look into, because at one time we did have in 2016 we did give out tokens per civic address.
Yes.
I don't remember the price of them back then, but I do know the price now, and if it becomes a real major problem, maybe we'll have to speak with the town, or it's not the town, but the water authority to check on that. But
yeah,
that's what I've been hearing.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Councillor Cushion?
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I've had a few people approach me and saying that the wells are getting low, but they're not totally dry yet. Now, there could be some out there that haven't contacted me, and To date, I've only delivered one. I volunteered to deliver water from the Mariner Center, and I've only taken one tank so far. Then 16, I took, I think it was 14 loads I had done, right? So I've only done one this year. But the one question was, and John mentioned it too, was the water that we had in 2016 here for people to come pick up for drinking. I just assumed at the time that we had it here, and I told the people, one resident, that just go there and they give you civic ID and you get some water. So I hope we can do that. I just assumed that we did. I should have asked first, I guess. But like I say, I've only delivered one so far, but I've had people that have talked to me, their wells are low but not dry yet.
Okay. Councillor Cunningham?
Much like Councillor Cushing, people's wells, I've had a couple people say that they're low. I know of one person not in my area that was on Facebook and said they're out. They live in the municipality. So there are probably others that haven't come my way yet. But we should look, and I think we looked a little bit at last time around extending our water service as well, because that cures this 100%. I know it's expensive, but again, potentially looking into some, if there are some federal or provincial funds available, that maybe we should look at extending our piped water services in the municipality of Yarmouth. So
In the future.
that helps in the future. Yeah.
If I may, then I'm going to turn the floor over to the CAO. In 2016, it was in September that the municipality was approached, and that's when the 1st of September. There had been some people's wells that had gone dry in August, and they really hadn't come forward to say anything. But then both Barrington and Argyll noticed it almost overnight that there was a big influx, and that was in September, and we handled it, and we moved forward. Well, this year has been drier, but the issue here is 2016 was still on the minds of a lot of people. So I'm going to be honest with you, back in July, there was a lot of people that had started taking their clothes to the laundromat, because if you go in and ask, they've been very busy for an extended period of time, and it's been sooner than was in 2016 because people were trying to conserve their water. I have talked with people from Barrington who work in Yarmouth who bring believe it or not, they're bringing their laundry in, and they've been bringing their laundry in for over a month now to have it done, because before they go home, if they got to do laundry, then they take it back home to Barrington. Their well wasn't dry, but they knew if they had done laundry that it would probably be dry. So there's been a lot of people that have been conserving water for, I'm going to say, back in July, and August here now is they're still going down, and there is people that are managing. The Mariner Center, as we've heard on the radio and so on, has been doing the tanks of water and so on out there. And I talked with a person the other day. They were there in the morning, and they were truck number 20 that was loading up with water. And I happened to be talking with Gildairs at around 1:30 that same day, and both he and Rick were coming from out back, and there was trucks lined up there. Now that's with the 200-gallon tanks, and those people are probably taking it and putting it in people's wells. But I'm not sure. So there's more than what we're hearing. People have, the word is that they've adapted and they started doing it sooner, and we're not hearing. There is a lot of people out there in the situation and so on. The senior staff and I met earlier today and had a discussion and so on. And I'm going to pass it off to Victoria. A couple of reasons. I wish for her to get to be known by our residents and so on, that she is doing due diligence and so on, and staying on top of things and so on. I have this information, and I could give it to you folks, but I'm going to pass it off to her so she gets to be better known and so on by our residents and so on. So, Victoria, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. At the Warden's request, staff began to research what initiatives took place in 2016, and we undertook to get some information from the councillors in terms of what's the scope and scale of the issue to date this summer. And our efforts were aimed at an appropriate response given the scale of the situation. And so based on the findings from council and the number of individuals who are saying they are out of water, we've made the following recommendation to the warden that our response be thus. So largely it's an education campaign, and it's aimed at conservation and at protecting vulnerable people and at making sure people are aware of what resources are available to support them now. So to that end, we will be putting out information, Facebook, website, be working with other partners to share the information on our behalf, EMO, for example. So the following initiatives are in place. So the Mariner Center is offering showers to anyone who wishes to use them. You have to bring, obviously, your own toiletries and linens. Right now, hours are Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. Keep watching the Mariner Center Facebook page for any change in those hours. The Mariner Center is also offering to fill large containers at the Zamboni fill station at the rear of the complex. Again, individuals must bring their own containers, and they fill the containers themselves, but staff are on hand to assist. Seniors or disabled persons who are on low water or need assistance with water delivery, we want them to contact our senior safety coordinator, Doris Landry, and we'll post the telephone number, or they can reach out to the municipal office and we'll put them in contact with Doris. And we've made arrangements with Doris to have ways and means to address problems that she uncovers there. The municipality also has, as the Deputy Warden mentioned, a water supply upgrade lending program. To date, 1 application has been approved and we have a pending application on our desk. So that's 2 since the bylaw was approved in early 2018. So the link to that is on our website, and anybody who has an interest in knowing more about that can check out the link or call the municipal office and speak to either myself or Greg Shea, Director of Finance. We received an invitation to partner with the group that leases the former Arcadia School, the ARC. There is water available there, and so the ARC has graciously agreed to look after all of the logistics around making water available there at the former Arcadia School. So we will be communicating the times that will be available when this goes ahead, and there'll be a contact number. In addition to those, there's always the spring in Weymouth that runs 24/7. That's free water as well. So those are access points to water, but we also have private sector participants who can be of assistance in this at this stage. So we will be publishing a list of water haulers and laundromats so that people can get access to supports and resources that way. And then most importantly, we're going to communicate conservation practices. So we're going to help remind people how they can conserve their water and prioritize the use of their water. So there's tips on there that will be published, and there's also a water use log so that people can actually keep track of how they're using their water and have a better sense of where their water's going. And so for now, we've determined that those are the best actions. Down the road, if the problem continues or worsens, we'll have to look at other options similar to what were looked at in 2016. And as the problem grows incrementally, then our response will probably have to do likewise.
A couple of quick comments that I'm sorry. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Victoria, for that information. Conservation of the water is very important, but the water table will be the main factor at the end result for sure. The only thing I never heard, are we going to make available drinking water for?
You're talking the 4-liter jugs?
Yes. Are we going to be able to do that?
So we're not in possession of jugs of water that are dated for use now. That would have to be something council would have to discuss. That would be a procurement issue. We would have to go to the market and figure out what it would cost and the logistics of making it available.
Yeah. Well, we did it in 2016. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, we partnered and worked with the other municipal units and so on. And at this time, I'm not sure if Argyle, it is something that staff can, I think,
look into. Okay, good.
Go ahead.
If I could clarify too, for Councillor Lauren's benefit, the province actually initiated that, and we worked with them to distribute the water. So
All right.
they were involved because at that stage, this became an EMO Nova Scotia issue.
All right,
So that's where I'm referring to scale and scope of the problem.
okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no, I would say, go ahead, Deputy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. The CAO is absolutely correct. The scale and scope of the problem was more widespread in 2016. If you all remember, here not all that long ago, Kentville, who was also included in 2016, had water sources, but they had flooding in the streets. It's been very strange this year in how the weather patterns and storms have been following. However, with that said, I do believe it would be worth a try to call our MLA's office to see if EMO Nova Scotia would have any, offer any help in that regards.
To look into it,
Because
yeah.
where they did that before,
Yes.
because I remember that they said, yeah, we have, I'll never forget it, the former CAO says, well, they're shipping some water down to Barrington, and why don't we get any?
Yeah.
And there were a couple phone calls were made, and then we got some, so I guess it would be prudent for us to work through our MLA's office to ask if there's any, or if EMO is aware, number one, and number two, if they have any programs available for just drinking water in a 4-liter jug. That'd be my suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Okay, if there's not, a couple of comments, the water from Mariner Center and so on, in my conversation with Mr. Dares out there is they can't stop you and so on from what type of vehicle you bring there and so on, but they will, I guess, to a degree. They did have one gentleman pull in there with 2 of those big water tanks on the back of a half-ton, and the second tank was sitting on the tail, part of it was sitting on the tailgate, and they told the gentleman no, they would not want him to fill that second tank. They have had gentlemen come in there with please, John, you can probably, an S10 or something, S15, yeah, a little quarter ton with a tank and fill it, and they said, squat, you know, and it's just the condition of your vehicle and so on. In one of those tanks, I guess it's way over a ton that you're putting on the back of your vehicle, so be very cognizant of the shape of your vehicle and so on. They can't stop you, but they, you know, in so on with that respect, very helpful. The other thing with the Arcadia School, I forgot, or I didn't have the opportunity. I spoke with Mr. Bonner late this afternoon. They're ready to go. The water was tested. It came back good. They done that on their own. Also, there is a complete new, the filtration system on the water has been all changed and so on. They went ahead and done that with the assistance of the municipality to make sure that the water was good. He said they're ready to go now and so on. So I'll finish finalizing that with Mr. Bonner tomorrow, because I don't know what type of hours and that they want to run or how late they can in the evening and so on. But I did tell Mr. Bonner that since it was in Councillor Allen's area, I would volunteer his time to go and supervise. No, I told him if they had to have somebody there, but he said they'd just put a hose out there that people can use. So I don't know if they meant they wanted somebody there or would need somebody and so on with that respect, but I'll check that out. Go ahead, Vic.
But just to be clear, though, it will be communicated as non-potable water. We're not making any warranties around the water, just so we're clear.
Yeah, and so on. So just one, you know, if they're willing to do that. But if there is, as Victoria said, anybody that get in touch with Doris Landry and so on that have any disabilities and so on, and the municipality is willing to step up. I never thought of that this morning in our conversation that the senior staff and I had pertaining to get in touch with EMO to see and or with our MLA. And so on. We discussed a lot of different things, and I apologize for that not being part of our conversation. Okay, 8.9. We have it down here as the radar, the weather. I believe that's you, Councillor Allen. Go ahead.
Okay, just a little background, I guess. We met on February 28th with Environment Canada's Bill Appleby, Rob Robichaud, among a few, to discuss the Doppler radar. I think a lot of us were enlightened. There was a lot of stakeholders there, some from the fishing industry, a lot from around our area from southwest Nova Scotia, and we were enlightened to the fact of what the Doppler radar could do for us. We have since determined that we are a fishing community, and we're looking, some of us are looking for a more accurate forecast. Everyone is really looking for a more accurate forecast. Some of us are looking for more accurate as far as wind as opposed to rain and things like that. We've been moving forward with it. On August the 8th, Cindy Vallis sent us an email. She's a supervisor for the Marine Forecast Program for Atlantic Canada. She sent us a letter or an email advising us that they're considering putting in a weather buoy in a zone off of Nova Scotia. It's quite a large zone. She was looking for some input. We've since charted it out on a chart to get the exact location of the zone. It's quite large. I can give you the bearings, but I would probably be getting into a lot of numbers, and so I guess what we're looking for is we'd like to get back to her with to show some support, and we kind of like to just suggest to her after looking at where the zone is, we'd like to see her stay somewhere in the area of 43 degrees 45 minutes north and along the 66 degree 30 minutes west line. We'd like to see her stay below the 43-minute-45 north and somewhere along the 6630 line. The 6630 line is the easternmost line of her zone. So we're feeling that if it goes above it, there are other weather buoys that the United States, and there's one in Jordan Basin. There's another one down a little farther in the Gulf that would probably end up with conflicting, too much overlap,
Okay.
I guess. So where we are recommending is a little closer to Nova Scotia, a little more central, trying to accommodate as many people as we can. So I guess what I would like to do is, I think we only need direction here. I don't think we actually need a motion. I'd like to see us just direct staff to get back to Cindy with a letter of support and just a recommendation of where we would like to see this buoy placed.
Okay. Watching the CA of Victoria trying to copy some of the dimensions that you were giving and so on. Did you get them all? Really? I was going to suggest that you have a conversation with her. So because in those dimensions and so on would be quite important in the letter of, so
Yes.
she'd be able to follow them on her chart and so on and go from there. My only question that I have, did you consult with some of the other fishermen and so on with that?
Well,
with the
since
grade?
we only got the letter on the 8th, I've only had limited consultation, but I have talked to some. And the feeling is somewhere in on that line would benefit offshore and inshore fishermen.
Okay.
And I'm not sure exactly what type of buoy. We don't have the information yet as
Right.
to what they're expecting this buoy to produce.
Okay.
We're hoping it may be up to date,
Okay.
real-time data.
Okay.
So what I'm also hoping is maybe if we could get the zone, the picture of the zone, the email she sent us, put up on our website somehow so people could access it to maybe have a look.
Okay. Yeah.
And they'll have an idea exactly where this zone is. It is quite large.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then if anyone has any questions, they could email me or
Okay.
forward them on.
Also, in this information that we sent forward, would it be beneficial for us to ask her to come down and have a discussion with I'll say the group
Oh,
and so on,
definitely.
pertaining, in what other options there may be and what other assistance that we give, because as I believe Councillor Cushion has stated, this is it is the first bit of information that we've had. We haven't put in any request, and that's what the committee was originally kind of structured for, was that we could have that discussion, come up with some ideas. Well, they came with the weather buoy suggestion and so on, and so, but if you think, would that be a part you'd like, or?
Oh, no, I definitely. I'm hoping that this is just the first step of many, that we may follow up with a couple more weather buoys, and maybe something onshore. I mean, it's only to benefit this end of the province.
Yeah.
I still feel our Doppler radar doesn't quite cover us as far as precipitation, which, we, like right now, we're getting forecasts of rain every second day and we're not seeing it. Things like that. I'm still a believer in we should have better coverage.
Okay. So that's something. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Cushion.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Again, Daniel said he only had a limited time for contacting some of the fishermen in his area, and the same with I. I did talk to fishermen in both ports, Chicago Point and Yarmouth Bar, and I came up with some numbers for Daniel, and we looked at the chart tonight to see where it was, and again, these are just a suggestion, and of course, it's not going to be our final decision, of course, but at least we were showing very proactive that we're very concerned about the way weather is being forecasted for Southwest Nova.
Yes.
And around sort of thing. But I just want to mention from the letter that come across our desk from 2014 to the present time of where we are now, I think our council of the day has been very proactive in making this happen. Mm-hmm. And I congratulate the council for supporting this endeavor sort of thing. And at that meeting that we had back at the Grand Hotel, again, the weather buoys were mentioned and had been recommended that at least 2 be done, but of course they put a big cost on it. But the cost is one thing, but the accurate weather is another thing. And then going back to the Doppler radar, and I think, and again, Councillor Allen alluded to it, that they've been forecasting rain for several times. We don't get it. Well, that's because the Doppler radar is too darn far away from us. Yeah. Because the curvature of the Earth, as I explained and everything, which makes probably sense. So we should be pushing for that too, so we have a more accurate forecast. So, a lot of people depend on that, not only for the weather that we're going to get from the buoy, but for the precipitation, whether it's rain, snow, or whatever it is. 'Cause people make a living off of that. Farmers need rain so they can make adjustments, sort of thing. Like especially if the farmers have cattle in the pasture that need water. I know the Churchill Brothers Farms, back in 16, they were lugging water to a container in the pasture where the cattle actually get something to drink. So so it's important at all. Weather is our main concern of the fishery industry down here, but we can't forget the other industries that are dependent on weather, and Doppler would be a great thing to have closer to this area too. So, thank you.
That it would. On one of the last comments that I'd like to make, that I mentioned, I would request that Councillor Allen could probably confirm with me, is I think in one of our meetings that we had in discussion pertaining to just the one industry, which is one of the many in the fisheries, but in the lobster industry from, is it 32, 34, and 33, they're around 1,500, you thought? 35. There was around 1,500 licenses?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's 976 just in 34 alone.
Okay.
And so right around 1,500.
Okay.
Give or take a few, yes.
So it is a very important industry, a very vital industry, because the MLA on Sunday night, when he spoke at the Wine and Seafood, he mentioned that the seafood export industry in Southwest Nova was a very big industry and so on. So, I guess in some respects, if we have to, we can also get some support from our MLAs in this area, because as you well remember, at that meeting at the Grand, we had representatives from a very large area here in Southwest Nova and so on with that respect. Go ahead, Councillor Cushion, and we'll move on.
You reminded me when you mentioned about our MLA. I had run into our MP, Colin Fraser, and I mentioned about our discussion with this transfer weather buoy and whatnot, and he was very supportive of it, and I told him that we would forward the information to him so he could do his part on the federal side of it to see
Yes,
for
he's
that
done,
support,
he's
so.
done a lot.
So we'll pass that information on to him too, so.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Okay. No further comment on that. We'll move on to item 8.10. And as I said in my report, that there's some good bit of information, and I wanted, again, the CAO, Victoria Brooks, to bring you, fellow councillors, and the residents of the municipality, especially up to speed what happened and what is about to take place. We're hoping for in September, are we not? For that to come out, hopefully. Hopefully. And the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. I was approached by a story developer from Business View magazine in early July. He reached out to me based on a recommendation from the Association of Municipal Administrators. The magazine has a subscriber list of 840,000 people, and that includes electronic subscribers and hard copy subscribers, and it's circulated all around North America. Business View magazine is designed to deliver news to executives, entrepreneurs, small business owners, franchisees, and anyone else interested in current industry trends and best practices. So they also have a public sector forum, and that public sector forum reports on latest advances in municipal public works, green initiatives, college sustainability programs, and any other newsworthy or timely developments in local government. So when I was approached by the story developer, he shared with me that the magazine was beginning to develop a series of articles, and the series is being developed in response to Prime Minister Trudeau's mandate to, quote, bring Canadian communities into the 21st century. So the series is going to be called Moving Nova Scotia Forward, and it's a series of feature articles on municipalities in Nova Scotia who are addressing some of the top issues that are on the federal government's agenda. And those top issues or themes include infrastructure, green energy, economic development, and partnerships. And so basically what happened was I had a conversation with the story developer who wanted to know a little bit about municipality of the District of Yarmouth, what our activities were in relation to those themes. And he took that information, and I competed with other municipalities in Nova Scotia to make a short list. And the short list was viewed by the editor of the magazine, who was choosing the lead story for the series. And the municipality of the District of Yarmouth has been chosen to be the lead story in this series of articles. So a couple of weeks ago, Warden Leland and Mark Blinn, our Economic Development Officer, and I were interviewed by the editor, and Liz assisted us in preparing for the interview, and we had very lengthy answers to the questions which we had in advance, and we unpacked the activities of this municipality in terms of infrastructure investments, in terms of our involvement in green energy, both with respect to our own operations but with respect to external projects. We talked about what we've been doing in terms of economic development, and again, internally and externally in terms of projects. And we featured the value of partnerships in achieving all of those projects and attaining all of those goals that you have set for the community. And at the end of the interview, the editor had to cut us off. We ran out of time. But she did indicate how forward-thinking this municipality was, how we were responding to the mandate of the federal government, how we were positioning ourselves to be good partners with the other two levels of government. And so we have an opportunity to put a few last comments in writing to the editor. We will receive a draft of the article in advance, which I think probably will see the draft in September, and the series will probably begin running in October. So rest assured, you will see the draft, and when the article hits newsstands, you will be made aware. So I want to thank Liz, Mark Blinn, and Warden Anthony for stepping up to the plate and running with me on this one, because I was really excited for the opportunity, and they stepped up to the plate.
Yeah. It was a great opportunity for the municipality when I was first made aware of it, and Victoria said, well, there's 5 in the list, and so on, we'll see. And then the next phone call I got was, well, we've been chosen as number 1 to lead off and so on. So that made me feel really good. The amount of, for 800 plus thousand, the publication list wise and so on. Do you realize for you to buy that as advertising space in a popular magazine or something of that nature, the cost, and this is all free and so on. So I have a very good feeling that we will get some phone calls, some responses, because our airport is mentioned in there, et cetera, and so on. All the different, all the value that we have. Somebody of those 800,000 people, somebody is going to call. And that's when opportunity knocks. And that was given to us for, to be the number one chosen municipality in Nova Scotia. I think that has to, go to show that our staff have been doing due diligence and so on, and that the CAO is, like I say, stepped up and so on. And I just thought, well, that would have been a nice feather in my cap to tell you. But I felt at this time, hey, that she worked very hard and diligently on it and so on, and I thought it was an opportunity for her to put it out there to the rest of our residents and to you, fellow councillors. Yeah, it was really good. And both Liz contributed, believe it or not. Liz has a lot of knowledge and so on what we have done in the past and what we are doing. So Liz contributed greatly, and Mark also put a lot of time and effort into it and so on. I didn't get a chance to talk very much in the interview. I couldn't push my way into that one, I guess, but I did speak. Anyway, if there's no comments or questions, we'll move on to item 811, which is dispatch. And I open the floor at this time. Is there anything that anybody wishes to start off? Because we do have some information that we'll be telling you, but if you prefer to have the again, I'm turning it over to the CAO.
So essentially, I just want to communicate tonight to council and to the public in the gallery that we are proceeding with the direction we received at the meeting between the Fire Service Association of Nova Scotia and the volunteer fire departments, working on pulling together that contingency plan for the chance that the dispatch service currently provided by the town of Yarmouth doesn't continue. So the CAOs that I'm working with, we've been playing a little bit of tag. The calendar isn't in our favor right now because people's holidays and whatnot, but we are solidifying which municipalities want to be part of that contingency plan, and then who is going to work from their fire service departments along with their administration on pulling together that contingency plan and being ready should something happen.
As you're all well aware, one of the responsibilities of a municipal unit is the safety and protection of our citizens and so on. There's a lot of other things that we as a municipality do, as a service and so on, through like recreation and so on. All those kind of things are a service, but protection and safety is one of the most important aspects. And under the umbrella of safety would be your fire and your police. Well, at this time, we are covered under the police. We don't have any issues there, but under the fire issue, safety and dispatch and so on, the municipality has to do its due diligence and to protect our residents and so on. And I wanted for the viewing public this evening that'll be watching us over the next couple of weeks and so on Eastlink and so on, that the municipality is very concerned and that we are working at a solution and so on to overcome any disabilities that might arise in the next short time span. But at this time, if there's any concerns or questions, please ask, because again, today, senior staff and I had discussions and so on, and I want to put anything to rest that we possibly can. Go ahead, Councillor.
Well, I think I'd just like to thank all the volunteers that came out to the meeting, and there's some even here tonight, and that's fantastic that they've been able to work that well with us in with a very challenging issue. we don't have all the control that we'd like to have with regard to all the factors involved, but in any event, we will do our best to work with the volunteer fire departments to get the very best service that we can at the end of the day, given the environment of change that we're in it, and we'll work with them to the best effect that we certainly can. So we appreciate their cooperation and working side by side with us as a council.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
I don't know where to start. I guess I'll start here, Mr. Chair. I guess through you to our CAO. And I don't know if this question has been asked, but did we or have we asked for the breakdown of the cost of the dispatch service in the Yarmouth Fire Department?
Could you please clarify what you mean by breakdown?
How much it costs, what their operating budget is, what it costs to operate the dispatch service. And the reason why I ask that is the municipality of Yarmouth, I believe we pay out between $600,000 and $700,000 a year to the town fire department to protect the residents of the municipality of Yarmouth. So therefore, I believe that information, if we have not asked for it, should we be asking for that information? Because there's been a lot of numbers thrown around, and I'm confused. I don't remember asking you, to be very honest, Mr. Chair, to the CAO. I don't remember asking for the breakdown of the cost, what's spent, what's spent on equipment, what's spent on maintenance, what's spent on, because let's face it, 1/3 of that budget comes from the municipality of Yarmouth. So do we have that? Or
So
have we
in
asked for
terms
that?
of the overall fire service that we're purchasing from the town of Yarmouth, we do get a cost breakdown of that in terms of the overall buy. And when the dispatch issue arose, we basically got the numbers broken out into two categories, and we don't have any further breakdown other than that. So wages and salary was separated from every other expense relating to the dispatch. And that's what we have. And I think that everybody's aware that that's what's been shared, is the wages and salaries and then the other costs associated with it. If council would like to have numbers presented differently, or other types of numbers or other things broken out, you could give me your list, and I could see if the town would provide that information presented in that way.
I guess the first thing that I should be doing, and I haven't done, and I apologize for not doing this sooner, but I guess I'll be asking for that via an email first to get that information broke down and find out exactly what the cost is to the municipal taxpayer. That's my main concern, the municipality district of Yarmouth. And speaking of the municipality district of Yarmouth, I'm not very happy, and I'm not very happy about this letter that's been sent to the municipality district of Yarmouth's fire chiefs without no consultation to the municipality district of Yarmouth. I remember at a meeting with the CAOs and wardens and deputy wardens that we decided at the time that we were going to keep each other in the loop. Where's the good faith? We are not in the loop, and we are certainly not in this loop. The municipality did not receive any forewarning that the town and the mayor was going to send out this letter requesting a fair formula for sharing the dispatch service between the volunteer fire departments and the municipality of Yarmouth. They had asked our fire departments to possibly raise their fire rates by 1 cent for taxable assessment for an area rate. The town had asked the volunteers, not the municipality of Yarmouth, the town. What gives them the right to go to our volunteer organizations and ask them to raise a tax rate to pay for something that they have no numbers for and have no idea what these numbers are?
Yeah.
I'm upset.
Yeah.
I'm very upset.
Yeah.
And as soon as I get a chance, I'm not going to send a nice fluffy email. I'm going to say it to their face. I've had enough.
Yeah. At this time, Deputy Warden, I fully understand because I believe there is frustration within, somewhat of frustration in a lot of the councillors and also in senior staff. That letter that went out to the fire chiefs went out to every one of the volunteer fire departments that the town's dispatch do. So I would assume it went into the Argyle fire departments, down to Shelburne because they do some dispatch and so on in the Shelburne Barrington area.
Correct.
So they also received that same letter and so on. And yes, the figures and so on to ask. As a business, as a town has that business as a dispatch, which is part of their fire service, any business has the right to go out and raise their shop rate, their service rate, or whatever they're doing. So for the town to ask everyone, of the volunteer fire departments, that can be their right. Was it the right thing to do? I would have thought they would have given the municipal units, we as councillors and our senior staff, I won't say a heads up, but have us be part of the conversation and so on to know, because if I was a volunteer fire chief and received that letter, I believe I'd be very upset, as the same as you are here this evening. But I do want to remind you that we want to work, how would I put it? I'd like to see us work in a fair faith manner, and when it comes, if we can't, then that's when I guess, we're being televised, sir, and I just don't want to get into a situation where it's not good. I know we're frustrated and it's not right, but the municipality of Yarmouth, we are working diligently, senior staff and myself, to bring this to a conclusion, and because it's very important to our residents. But input from you as councillors is very important. Victoria didn't mention that we will be meeting with our local fire chiefs and so on here. Hopefully, I won't say the next week because it does take a little bit of time and we can only have evening meetings and so on. And I'll be sitting in on those meetings and so on. And we're going to work very diligently with them on their feelings and so on, how we move forward. You have to realize, when part of the municipality of Yarmouth is serviced by the town fire department. The rest of the municipality is serviced by a lot of independent volunteer fire departments. Carlton, Kemp, Lake George, Port Maitland, and so on have volunteer fire departments and so on. But a very large majority of the municipality, and that's where your $600,000 comes in, because that's a big area that they cover, and that covers, that 600,000 just covers that area. All of the rest of the 1 cent on the assessment that each one of the volunteer fire departments put on the assessment goes to help run their department. I think you realize that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, goes to
I'm
run
listening.
their department. What goes on ours for the municipality, for our district, Daniels, Lawrence, mine, Trevor's, that is 16?
I would have to look.
Yeah, I think it's 16 cents. And that's where the $600,000 comes from, to help pay what they cover on that. And I understand your frustration, and but we are trying very diligently to come to a conclusion. This is a big issue, and so on. So, I mean,
Mr. Chair, if I may, thank you very much for putting that so eloquently. I know you're upset as well, and I give you full credit for not losing your cool like I did. But I don't think I lost my cool.
no.
I'm mostly upset because we talk about municipal cooperation a lot. You hear that term thrown out there willy-nilly. I don't see no municipal cooperation on this issue. We worked with the town. I believe we made them an offer. They refused. I don't know if they countered. I was not privy to the information and stuff. but there seems to be no willingness to come to what we would call a fair and equitable agreement. I'm trying not to get the dispatch people involved in this, but unfortunately, from my opinion, that's the way it's turning out to be. And if for some reason that something goes bad, from what I see in this letter, obviously the town has rejected the offer that we put on the table. So now they're putting the onus on our, and this is where I'm getting upset. They're putting the onus back on our volunteer fire departments, and they put it directly here, right in this letter.
Yeah.
We are proposing the beginning of October 1st to bill based on equitable sharing of the dispatch costs. Well, excuse me, if the town would have asked the municipality, the District of Yarmouth, they would have finally found out that the fire departments do not hold their ratepayers meetings most generally, except for a couple exceptions, whether it be February, March, or April. So they're proposing October the 1st to ask our volunteer fire departments for more money around our back, in my opinion, before they can even ask their own ratepayers, because in the end of the day, it's the ratepayers that decide whether they want to move forward with this.
Yeah.
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 I think I'm going to turn off my mic because I'm getting hotter and more upset, and I'm starting to curl my toes. But anyone that watches this, the municipality residents, we will try to work with the partners involved to come to a fair and equitable solution to the problem we have. But one thing I don't want to hear is another partner throw up their hands and say, we tried. Because I'm telling you one thing right now, I'm trying.
Yep. The municipality has taken the lead, Deputy Warden, in trying to, in any negotiations, you have to have somebody that's in the lead. And I think the municipality has stepped up. We're willing to do whatever it takes to negotiate with other municipal units to sit at the table. But in my tenure, it has, as have been a councillor and as the warden, one of the most important things is communication. And what I find, or what I feel at this time, is there hasn't been the communication. It doesn't have to be directly with myself, but with the CAO to sit and have some type of, and there hasn't been what I would consider proper communication. And I think that is what upsets me more than anything else. In today's technology and so on, yes, we have cell phones, but a face-to-face conversation, I think that the town should have been more forthcoming, sitting down with the CAOs and the municipal units that they are involved with on trying to come to something. That first bit of information that was given to the town, what we would increase, that came through discussions with the CAOs, and it was presented by, I believe, Alan to the town. They were willing to pay up to 3 times more, et cetera, but that was refused. But in any negotiations or any discussions, there should have been, well, can you do this or can you do that? And there was none of that. It was just a complete change and so on. And I think that's I'll say the frustration level that's right there right now. But the big frustration that I have, and I can remember when you first came on as a councillor, and I've said it before, your thoughts at that time was, let's get her done, but you learn sometimes it takes a little bit of time. Well, since I first heard of this was May 2nd, and we're almost at the end of August. Well, that means it's been a 4 months trying to get something done, and I don't want to go 2 or 3 more months. I mean, my residents are important to me, and as they are to you councillors. Let's try and come to some type of agreement, whether we work or we don't, or we can go this route or that route. We got to do something. And I know senior staff have been working at that, and there's a bit of a frustration level with them also onto it. But I believe after our discussion today with senior staff, myself, and so on, that we've stepped on the right road, and they're going to start carrying that forward. And I would hope by the end of August that our senior staff will be able to give us this is the road we're traveling, this is where we're going, and we'll be able to put it out to the residents of our municipality, to our fire chiefs and so on, and they're going to be comfortable with it and so on going forward. Now, I know I've spoken enough. I'm sorry, Councillor, you have the floor.
No, that's okay, Mr. Warden. I was certainly going to have my say regardless of how long you were.
Yeah.
I agree with Councillor Deputy Warden Cunningham on the information that we need in a breakdown of cost. And I mentioned that at our in-camera meeting that'd be nice to have. And again, I never realized how important the volunteer fire departments were to the municipality of Yarmouth and the town of Yarmouth until I went to the first meeting they had at the dispatchers down in Brombaugh. And since that time, I've realized how important they are in the work that they do. I think the writing is on the wall as far as the town's concerned. In saying that, because where I live, the district I represent, are serviced by the town of Yarmouth Fire Department, I like to be proactive and find out, is my district going to be protected properly if we lose the service that we have now, or it changes in a different model? You know, I'm very concerned about that with the people in my district. You know, and I think the town owes the municipality an explanation of what's going to happen. You know, I believe the writing's on the wall as far as I'm concerned. It's their way or no way, and but I am concerned about the residents in my district. Are we going to be protected properly? The short answer they'll have, yes, you are. Well, sometimes the short answer is not the best answer. So I really like to have an honest discussion and a clear and accurate numbers so that we'll know what's going on. And we talked about communication. Probably Councilor Allen will probably shake his head when I get through this one. But I was always told communication doesn't guarantee you success.
Right.
Lack of communication will contribute to your failure.
Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Was there any other comment and so on? Ooh. Go ahead, Councillor.
Well, I guess I may as well weigh in. I guess we can't change the past, and the town seems to be moving forward with a plan. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that they've went out and they've done this without our volunteers. If it was going to happen, I still think we should be together. I think all our volunteers, Yarmouth, we need to be together. We take care of each other. We have agreements to take care of each other. I know through consultations with our fire department chiefs and deputy chiefs, when we were looking at contingency plans and things like that, Yarmouth was always mentioned. We always were going to make sure they were involved if it came to that point. And I'm having a hard time understanding why they would move ahead without some consultation with our volunteer fire departments. I mean, there's going to be times when they're going to need each other, and I would say more often than not they do. And I just don't quite understand why they left them out. I'm very disappointed in that. I guess that's just my little rant for today, I guess. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to close. I'm not going to close off. I've asked the CAO to close off this session, but what I want to mention, I don't think you as councillors realize, but sitting here this evening, there's two of our councillors aren't here, and it's Councillor Patty Durkee and Councillor Gerard LeBlanc. Sitting here also this evening is, well, Councillor Trevor Cunningham, myself, Lauren, and Daniel, and Gerard, who isn't here, our districts are serviced by the town fire department. So sitting here as a municipal unit, there's 5 of the 7 who are, we're really concerned because I won't call it a volunteer fire department. It's not a volunteer fire department. But our areas, our districts, I won't say are at jeopardy because there's no chance of them being at jeopardy because the town will cover us on the fire side. But of the 7, there's 5 of us that are affected drastically by this. And so Councillor Trevor Cunningham and then Victoria.
Yes, many good and valid points have been brought up this evening. Representing District 5 and certainly volunteers are important to the Yarmouth Fire Department as well as throughout our county. I mean, you need only go into the room and see all the chiefs there from Southwest Nova Scotia, and you can see those are just the chiefs, and there's a lot of manpower in the room, person power in the room, and it's unbelievable the dedication and the value in protecting the properties and lives in our communities. Having said that, the point that I'd like to discuss is the fact that in District 5 and other districts, as the wardens pointed out, that is protected by the Yarmouth Fire Department. I think we should invite the chief in to have the chief present to us, to council, give us an updated status report of the fire protection in those districts, because that's another piece of it that we really should hear, because we've had lots of questions like, yes, I think that's good, but I don't know that that's the case. So what are their views on the dispatch? Let's hear it from the horse's mouth. We're paying for a service, so we should certainly get an update on the efficacy and the future state of that service. It's only good governance and good due diligence. So I'd put that out there for a little conversation, and also maybe even the CAO could weigh in about the appropriateness of that. But I can't see that it's not appropriate that we would ask the fire department to come in and give a status report, given all that's transpired over the last number of months.
So before I pass it over to the CEO, was there any comments from you on his suggestion? Okay. You're making that just as a request, or are you going to make that as a motion after or anything, Councillor? Just okay. We're going to go to the Deputy Warden and
Mr. Chair, I don't know if that is possible, and the reason why I say that is because the fire chief in the town department is a paid employee by the town. So that's why I'm a little. I don't know if that would work.
Okay.
Because you're talking about paid employees of the town and another paid department in the fire department, which would be the dispatcher. So I don't know what kind of information, or even if the town would allow that. I certainly agree that we could ask, but I'm kind of curious what kind of information would come out of that, if any.
Okay. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Warden, if the dialogue between the fire chief was around assurances for the delivery of the service, so the fire chief has a responsibility to create an operating plan for that department and to deliver that under the direction of the CAO. So if this council wanted to talk with the chief about service and to get assurances about the plans for protecting people and property in the District of Yarmouth where they serve, I think that would be appropriate. Questions around collective bargaining process between the town and employees would not be appropriate.
Yeah.
So I think as long as we were clear on what we wanted to talk with the chief about, and it was around operations and the operational plan for serving the District of Yarmouth, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay.
I realize that. I certainly wouldn't want to be speaking on, and I do realize that, about the collective bargaining, but I don't know how the chief could respond when he doesn't even know how his dispatch is going to be or who it's going to be. And because let's face it, he's up in the air as much as we are, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I certainly can't speak for him.
I don't, I'm not trying to put words into Councillor Trevor Cunningham's mouth, but I don't think he was asking about dispatch, because dispatch is a completely different.
You're talking about operations, but.
No, I think he just wants to know if all the districts that the town services in the municipality, do you still have the availability, we're still gonna be protected. Right now, I'm gonna use that word assume, and my wife says, never use that word assume that I am protected, and I'm quite sure that I am. But with everything that's going on, is the response time still the same? Is the manpower there to do it? Is the backup? Well, no, that would be a question, I believe, but I'm not, I leave the floor open to you, Councillor, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think Warden Anthony's put it another way that is good as well. So that does hit on the point that I want to, it is a due diligence piece. I want to ask the fire chief to come in and say, are you ready now and in the near term to respond to emergency fire situations and other situations which we pay for is a matter of a contractual agreement between the town and the, those types of things. So it's an update status report to ensure that the situation is being looked after, and I'm sure it is, but I'd like to have that conversation. And, we can ask for an update on the dispatch if they've got information to give us. They can give it to us. I think that's good practice. I mean, we have our volunteer fire chiefs come in and give updates as well. So, we've had that happen before, and I'll make a motion that we have the fire chief come in to give us an update about the service that they're providing the municipality of the district of Yarmouth. Simply for a presentation.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Trevor Cunningham, seconded by Councillor Cushion to do that. I'm going to ask the question, would you wish to add the CAO to that, to the town CAO to that? I think probably we would probably get a quicker response of both them coming. So,
yeah,
go ahead.
Certainly with the option, and when I say the fire chief, obviously they'd be able to speak to the fire issues, but the CAO may also want to attend to support the chief or to answer other questions that council may have, or they, So I'll leave it up to Yarmouth to provide that.
Okay. And I guess because I've been around a little longer, my next question is, do you wish for them to set a time? And when I say that, would you prefer an evening meeting? And let them at their convenience, if they can come next Friday, I realize that all councillors might not be able to show up, but is that something you want to leave it, or do you want to try and pick a date? Because I can tell you right now, it'll be a long, I shouldn't say that, but go ahead, Deputy Wood.
No, Mr. Chair, I'd much rather have it during a committee of a whole meeting here, a public meeting. Sitting right there.
Ooh, that was my next question.
That's what I want to see.
Okay. Okay, you've been given direction, I guess, and so on. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, you ready for the question? Question being called. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, motion carried. On that note, I'm going to ask the CAO to finish off if she has any other information on that.
Sure. So I guess just to wrap everything up then, the next step will be for me to reach out to the fire chiefs and invite them to come in and have a look at where we're at, have a look at how we think the process should unfold for moving forward, give them an update, allow them to give us an update, because, the fire service providers do receive information sometimes before or in more depth than we do in this office. So again, just to keep communication lines open to make sure we're still all on the same page. So those plans will be put into place the end of this week, first of next week. So that's what will happen. This letter will go out inviting or requesting the CAO and the fire chief to come before this council at the September Committee of the Whole and provide an update on how service can be guaranteed in the District of Yarmouth.
Okay, that's good. Okay.
So there is a joint EMO executive meeting Tuesday night. Yep. So just a reminder for
yes.
those.
Emergency Measures Executive Committee, there hasn't been any meeting. The Occupational Health and Safety Committee, no meeting. Heritage Advisory, Councillor LeBlanc and Councillor Durkee are neither one are here this evening. Can't say whether. Planning Advisory Committee meeting, we haven't. Was I at the last one? I don't think so. No. Yarmouth County Police, Yarmouth Recreation, was there anything to report from? Nothing there? Go ahead.
I see Frank Grant hasn't, I assume it's Frank Grant, his name is on it, has included a package, but we haven't had a meeting,
Okay.
so.
At this time, if I may, I don't want to speak out of turn in the respect that there has been talk of a, what do you call it, splash pad and so on. That had, recreation has only helped organize a committee. It is not a recreation project, and I want to specify that out there to the public. Just that recreation helped a committee be informed. Am I right on that? Yes, that's what I thought, and so on. But go ahead, Deputy Warden.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I'm glad you made that clarification on the Yarmouth Recreation. I know that there was a motion by our funding partner stating that they were directing the Recreation Department, but I did receive all that emails and stuff from Recreation Director Frank Grant. And Mr. Chair, if I may, since I have the floor, the EMO meeting, that conflicts with another one that we got from Yarmouth Area Industrial Commission.
Yes.
I think there's just a very brief overlap, if I'm not mistaken. I can double check that, Deputy Warden.
Yeah.
That come through, and I accepted it originally. Then I sent off a quick email to the to Greg Shea that conflicts with the joint EMO meeting,
Yes.
and that one's very important. We have to hold that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's going to do to a quorum, because myself, the warden sits on that, and Councillor Cushing does as well.
Yeah. Anyway,
You're on EMO as well, correct?
no, it's Daniel. Daniel's on EMO.
Okay.
It's you and I and Lauren on the Industrial Commission, you and I and Daniel on the EMO.
So that I just wanted to point that out.
Well, I just want to confirm to the general public and so on, my wife tells me I'm in two places a lot of times, so I can do it.
It shows.
Other reports, Friends of the Light. Keep it short, please. Thank you.
Yes, I will. Keep it short. Thank you. Far as I know, I haven't heard too many concerns about the activities down at the Yarmouth Lighthouse. As we know, we've had a foggy summer, but from what I hear from visitors there, it's been well attended, even with the fog and whatnot, and things are going along, I believe, pretty good, because I haven't had too many concerns come to light, which is a very positive thing. However, there is still one item that is bugging the heck out of me, and it ties in with the Friends of the Light, but not really. Is I was told, I guess I wasn't told, I was on the understanding that we would have a waste receptacle in place at the monument down at Yarmouth Bar. And I haven't heard a darn thing about that. Maybe I misunderstood, but you know, the residents down there, they do a great job volunteering. They pick up the litter on Highway 304. They do a real good job. That was number one. And then going back to the to the Friends of the Light, again, I had made a suggestion, and I think this was only a suggestion. I don't want it to get lost on track. That I like to see some trail lights put down along the Leif Erikson Trail, because people stay for stargazing and whatnot. Though you get those solar lights that would just give off enough light so people can tell exactly where they are when they're walking and whatnot. So there's a couple of concerns that I have there, right? And just bouncing off one more thing, not so much to do with Friends of the Light or the waste receptacle, but so I don't have to speak again, is that on Saturday night down at the waterfront, the Pembroke Kitchen Party will be at the Rutter's Tent from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and they usually have a good turnout. So if anybody wants some good local music, they'll be there. And with any luck, no, probably I won't. I have to go to Halifax. But they're a good bunch, and the seniors they really enjoy it. And I must say that two of our seniors who are kind of leaders in this activity, one is correct, is 87, and the other one is 86, and they play their guitars and they sing and they do a lot of it. That's Arnold and Pauline Nickerson. They're great people, great citizens, and they contribute a lot to our community. So just want to let everybody know that. Thank you.
Joint Green Energy, I don't believe there's been any meeting. Mariner Center Management Board, I haven't seen any report from them. The Regional Economic Management Board, nothing. Western County Regional Library, both Councillor Durkee is not here this evening. So I can't say. YASTA, Councillor LeBlanc isn't here, so I don't know if they've had any meeting. Yarmouth Dairy Industrial Commission, as Deputy Warden has stated, we have a meeting next Monday. Yarmouth Waterfront Development, guess there hadn't been any meeting. Yarmouth International Airport, we was going to have a meeting, but that's been canceled. I did bounce over number 7, Waste Check. We haven't had any summer meetings, but next week I'll be off on the 21st. I have a meeting with the new Minister of Environment, Minister Margaret Miller, and that is to discuss on EPR and the efficiency study that is being carried out in the province at this time by regional chairs. But the environment has put out new C&D regulation. Well, they're not put out yet, excuse me, have come forward with new C&D regulations, and we asked environment to give us a 6-month extension so that municipal units could have input. We only got, you ready? The extension is only until the end of September, and so I have had a discussion, sat down with Glendon Ring from our solid waste park, and with Gus Green, and some information there, and I believe Gus has been in touch with our CAO as he has been with the rest of Region 7 and so on. It's just that the environment wants to change, I won't say some rules, but what can go in, what can't go in, and inspection. And one of the concerns that we have is there's a lot of municipal units that have C&D sites, and what really the way we look at it and so on, or way we feel, the regions feel, is kind of that they want to be able to do a little more inspections on municipal units and less on private. So we're going to argue that part. So today I got information back from the organization I sit on that Environment is going to be at our meeting on September 14th and give us a presentation on the new rules and regulations that they're going to implement probably by the end of October. Well, we ain't going to have no, I won't say we won't have any say, but we'll try. We'll try. As I said, Yarmouth International Airport, that one's been canceled. Science Committee, I don't know again if okay, Councillor Durkee. There was no recommendations from the only recommendations, and Councillor Trevor Cunningham has already made those recommendations in the appointment. so on. But before we, was there any further business? Because I only have one thing. No, I forgot to, and I had thought of putting it in my notes, but I had forgot. This past, well, not this past week, but last week, we all know what happened in Fredericton. The shooting of 2 police officers and the shooting of 2 citizens and so on. And I just wanted to make mention that, you know, every day we all go to work and so on, and we all can be in accidents or something can happen. But when you take 2 police officers who are out there to protect and service the public in any situation and so on, those 2 police officers, when they arrived on scene, seeing the other people, the citizens and so on, their first thought was to do the best they could for them, and in doing so, they gave their lives also in that situation. It's a real sad thing, and that, believe it or not, it seems to be getting a little closer to home. Moncton here a little over a year ago and so on, and now in Fredericton and so on. So I don't know if it would be the recommendation of this council to ask our CAO to send either through an email or through a note that I can sign, or a card that I can sign, that our condolences to the service up there and so on. I believe the funeral for the police officers, I believe, is this Saturday and so on. So I don't know what your, you know, I'm open to some comment and so on, and what your thoughts, if that's what you feel and so on. Go ahead, Councillor Allen.
I feel that I'm in favor of sending something up there to let the people of Fredericton know that we are thinking of them at this time.
Okay, appreciate it. Anybody else? Councillor Cunningham?
I would agree with Councillor Allen and yourself. I think that's a good idea, and it's a terrible tragedy, and it's worth, certainly would be good to send something recognizing
Yeah.
their pain.
Yeah. The sad part, I think one of the sad parts of that is their shift was ending and they still responded. They were just ready to do their shift change, and they still responded. Okay? 20 minutes later, they'd have been home. Would have been probably some other police officer, not that that was a good thing, but they didn't hesitate and so on. It's the same as our volunteer firemen or the paid firemen. They don't hesitate. They go in and so on. So it's, if there is no further business of council, entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you very much.